So Drew Smith recently, he has not looked good. He started the season with 13.2 scoreless innings, and ever since then, since his first home run that he gave up against Seattle, 12.1 innings pitched, 7 earned runs, 6.63 FIP, 33.3% hard hit rate, 13.9% barrel rate, and a 52.8% fly ball rate. Now, Drew Smith has had these struggles before where he can't really keep the ball in the ballpark. We've really seen spurts of him where he can be a very effective reliever. And one thing that has been talked about a lot with this bullpen has really been Buck Showalter's circle of trust. Drew Smith may have really entered that big part as maybe a setup man in the 7th or 8th inning. But recently, we've really started to see this guy falter. He's always been somebody who's gotten hit hard, but he's a huge strikeout guy. Do you think that the Mets can still trust Drew Smith? Is this just a rough patch?
Since I am the most intelligent of sports mathematicians, analytically driven rhino that I am, I did some research, and we like a word that we like to call it the world of barrels. We, as a pitcher, you don't want to get barreled. 405 pitches, batted balls, 62 of them. He already has given up 9 barrels. All of last season, with 106 batted balls, he gave up 10. He has been hit a little harder lately, but like you said, he has kind of gotten in to Buck Showalter's kind of trust group with him and Diaz, to a lesser extent Seth Lugo, but he's kind of been the guys in the 8th inning. If you think about Mets winning, Starter goes 6, Lugo, Ottavino, maybe Colin Holderman go the 7th, Smith in the 8th, and Diaz in the 9th, in the first 13 and 2/3 innings. We're thinking, damn, this guy's elite. You know, Mets fans looking smart, and now he's getting hit like a and now we're thinking, damn, why do we want this guy in the bullpen again? And he's not as young. I thought he was like 20, still 25, 24, 25. He's 28 right now.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how old this is. He doesn't even have the luxury of being like, hey, he's a kid, you know, kind of the Colin Holderman. We're like, you know, he's a rookie. We'll see it. Like, he's been in the big leagues 4 years now. And yes, has his main bugaboo been he's been injured a lot. And maybe the difference, like we saw in the offseason, he changed from a cutter to a slider. And now you're starting to see that cutter, slider, whatever you want to call it, starting to get hung like he did in 2019, 2020. Garrett Cooper's hitting moonshots off it. I'm not saying as an example, but that's kind of when people think of Drew Smith, you think of that walk-off he gave up against the Marlins. But now he's starting to hang it, and it's starting to get hit hard. Yes, he still is one of the only guys, him and Diaz, who are heavy strikeout guys. I mean, obviously, Ottavino gets your soft contact. Obviously, Lugo, when he's right, can give you the soft contact. Joely obviously is the lefty. But from the right side, your main strikeout guys are Holderman, Smith, and Diaz. Everybody else can get the soft contact or have a fly ball issue. But we need him to be productive. And could this be a rough patch? Yeah, it could just be, hey, maybe Hefner needs to get back and maybe sit down with him and say, hey, let's change the grip a little bit. Maybe we change the pitch sequencing. But, obviously with relievers, we've said this 1,000 times. They're so finicky. They can go through stretches where they're unhittable. Then they'll go through stretches where they just get barreled and bombed as much as Drew Smith has the last couple of weeks. So do I still trust him to an extent? A la yesterday's video, and I'll continue to clamor for. They need to keep adding arms in this bullpen at the deadline. Again, I will keep yelling David Bednar until it happens. I haven't gotten that Cal Raleigh homer's definitely, like you said, the first one he gave up. Cal Raleigh, of all people, are hitting a bomb off him was definitely a couple week funk, and then he could obviously bounce back. It only takes 2 to 3 good outings, and he's back to being what he was in April and early May.
So the stretch that I just brought up from May 13th to now, that is 11 outings that he has had out of the bullpen. 6 of them have been scoreless and they have been clean. So it's not like he has been just 11 straight outings. He has been completely terrible. He's been unusable. He's been getting knocked around. He still showed those spurts where he can be a lockdown reliever. The only problem about Drew Smith, and this has been a problem with him for his entire career, even through the minor leagues. First off, you got to say that he does have good command. He doesn't have elite command, but he does have good command. He does have great control over his pitches. That is something that he does very well. He knows how to throw strikes. Now, the only problem is that when he's having command issues, when he does mess up, when his command is bad, it's really, really, really bad. From the point where that ball is dead. You have no active spin on it. You have no spin efficiency to it. It is going right down the middle, and that thing is going to fly over the fence. And that's one of the biggest problems with him. It doesn't happen as often as people think it is. It's over glorified with Mets fans seeing this guy give up home run, but it is a major problem. This is something that I really thought that he solved when he changed that cutter to a slider, where he can be, a little bit more shifty, show a little bit more movement, bait more hitters, and maybe have a little bit more of a success with pitches out of the zone. He just looks flat right now. And that's something that is very concerning, especially when he's had these types of intense moments where he's hurt his arm, instances where he's hurting himself. And you saw through the first 13.2 innings where, well, he was still getting hit hard a little bit, but he was still able to strike out a lot of hitters. I mean, this guy's strikeout rate was almost 40% throughout the, first few weeks of the season.
He's a good arm. Again, the big thing, he just hasn't stayed healthy. And this could, again, like we've said, just be a bump in the road where say, hey, like you said, he's had some outings where he's been clean, but then there's been outings where he's given up homers. And then with relievers, you take hopefully more productive than negative outing. Even the great ones do fall, but I think obviously Drew has to be a big part of this pen. Again, 3-run homers. I'd rather you give up a 3-run homer when we're up by 5 than a 3-run homer when the game is tied. Do I think they need to add more? Of course. Do I still trust Drew after the fact? Let's say post deadline role. I still believe that. I just don't think he'll be the guy in the setup role post trade deadline.
They traded away Miguel Castro. He throws very hard. He's a pitch to contact type of guy, but also can, be explosive into the strike zone. So Drew Smith and you have Edwin Diaz. When you don't have Drew Smith doing well, that's kind of a big part of it. And you also have another strikeout guy who we don't have right now in Trevor May. One thing is that he's a very important piece to this bullpen, and he is going to continue to be a huge piece to this bullpen for as long as they have him. All I can say is that so far I'm a little disappointed. I did expect a little bit more from him. To be honest, I really hope that he does figure this out because I think he's a very talented reliever. Age 28, age 29, this is where, you start to get into the prime of your career, and this is where he needs to show what he's made of, because as we've seen with this team, if you don't perform, you're probably going to be out of here. We all know I'm a huge Drew Smith guy. If they do have to add some arms to the bullpen where some of these guys continue to be inconsistent, they're going to have to do that.
And it's like, really, you have control of him for 2 more years. He's going to be here this year, and he's got 2 ARB years, and then he's a free agent at age 31. You have him controllable. He'll make nothing. So you kind of hope for his sake he does bounce back and is what he was the first month and a half, because again, you have him for nothing. And you know how important it is to have cheap reliever control, especially look at the money. You're paying $4 to $5 to $7 million to hell $11 million for relievers on the open market. It is still important to keep developing young arms. And like we've said, having Colin Holderman, potentially Steven Nagosic, having Drew Smith, having Bryce Montes de Oca, having Josh Walker, having guys in the minor leagues who can be cheap options, just have them as team control.
Yeah, this bullpen can look a lot different. Like, it really can look a lot different. We've talked about this before on streams and, different videos. This bullpen can look a lot different. So you really just don't know what it's going to look like. Lugo, Diaz, Ottavino, Trevor Williams, all these guys are going to be free agents. You don't know if they're going to be coming back. The reliever market is obviously a little bit different from other positions. So I really hope that he does figure it out because, again, like I've said, I think he's a very talented reliever, and I really think that he has the potential to be really good.